the role of microfinancial institutions, and we have with us Mr. Kosi Jokoto and Mr. R. Tete helping us with these discussions. Gentlemen, we can continue now.
Yeah.
So what is the role of these financial institutions?
Microfinance institutions help the poor to thrive and survive. But that is the objective. Through micro lending, small loans or credits, giving business information, guidance, so that you change the economic situation of these poor individuals and enterprises.
So what kind of people are benefiting from these institutions? I mean, can the roasted plantain seller by the roadside, the dog chain seller, the pure water seller, are they all benefiting from these institutions?
Well, if they do open accounts, they can. They qualify. They qualify. In fact, loans as little as 200 Ghana cedis can actually affect the economic life of so many people in the country. People go out there from their homes without a pesewa, but then they survive, they hustle. So what if you give them even 100 Ghana cedis? You'll be surprised what could happen to them. They'll be able to turn around this and make decent living. So microfinance institutions are actually...
They are very critical. They play a critical role. Because see, I don't know if this has come to your attention. Microfinance institutions branching into other things.
Like what?
Like what?
Like there was one, I can't remember exactly what it was, but they were, for instance, a savings and loan company. Later on, they decided to go into vehicle distribution, something as funny as that. But you do hear of these cases, don't you?
Yes, we have. I wouldn't say branching into other areas. For instance, there are institutions that are involved in financing the purchase of car for taxi drivers.
Yeah.
And it's just a loan product packaged so that the average taxi driver who is unable to save enough to buy his own car can have that opportunity of owning his car. Okay, after maybe saving for an institution for some time, the institution tops it up and also acquire the car. So the car is in the name of the microfinance company or the institution, and at the same time the taxi driver. Once you finish paying, then you can take over the car. So the issue is not really about branching, it's just a product packaged to suit maybe a peculiar segment of the market.
Okay. Would you advocate, for instance, for a deposit insurance scheme?
A deposit
insurance scheme? It is very common in the UK,
yes,
in the US.
Yes.
Even in Nigeria.
Even here, with the banks, the big banks.
To save as a guarantee for depositors.
Currently, the measures we have is for microfinance, you are supposed to keep about 30% of your deposit as a reserve requirement. Okay. 20% is going to government security. 10% is supposed to be kept in a deposit account with a class 1 bank. Okay, so that is already in place. And in fact, in doing that, it shorts the cost of funds upwards. For instance, if a depositor brings money to you as an institution at a, let's say, a fixed term of 30%, once you have to take 30% out and put it somewhere, you cannot directly invest it into loans. The cost of the 30% shot up to about 42%.
Because you also mentioned,
and,
sorry.
And that is very expensive for the microfinance institutions, and it's one of the areas that we have to critically look at. And I'll also appeal to the regulators to relook at it, because already the cost of funds to the microfinance are very expensive. the banks get cost monies at cheaper rate. Deposit in the banks ranges between 10%, 6%, and sometimes up to 19%. But you cannot talk about microfinance. You are talking about 30, 35%. And if you have to, and the banks has about 9% statutory deposit, and you have 30. Quickly, your cost of funds shoots up, and that is also affecting the objective of the microfinancing, because the people you serve, you should get the funds for them at an affordable cost.
So there's quite a disincentive there for the micro.
Sure.
Okay. So if, for instance, Sandra here, I don't think she would go for a loan. She's a rich girl. But if she decided to step out today, to any microfinance institution, what tips can you give her? What should she do? How would she decide that this is the best place to go for a loan?
For
maybe Mr. Tete can start.
Okay.
I think primarily one has to find out whether the institution is registered.
Yeah, if you need the money so badly, would you have time to research?
You just cannot even go because you need money.
Yeah.
First, you should have a relationship with the company.
Right.
And in forming the relationship, you must ensure that the company is duly registered and is under one of the umbrella institutions. That's the first thing you have to do. Beyond that, coming from the fact that most of them are not very literate regarding microfinance business, we also want to know whether they have fixed locations. Who are in charge? You may even do some tests. You do 2 weeks deposits, and you want to take about 50%, 90% of the deposit. But that is there. You also talk to friends with the same institution, whether they are experiencing what you are seeing. So due diligence, I will recommend to all customers of microfinance institutions. Basic common sense approach.
Okay. Now, lastly, just before you go, you mentioned something earlier about the lack of proper address systems in the country being one of the reasons why these institutions run into problems. Yeah. So how can they overcome this issue? How can they go about it?
Because our address system is
it's
not going to get
exactly.
good in any
so,
time
yes,
soon.
They are still in business, so how do they
yes.
go about recovering their money?
There are several ways of protecting depositors' money in terms of if you give it out into loans. Knowing where somebody resides is one. Okay, fine. Sometimes you have to physically go to a client's place of abode and really feel. Even the banks are doing that now. They want to see where you reside actually, not just their address that you have written in the application
that is
letter.
True.
So that is one of the measures, and sometimes it requires that you have to describe the direction to your house. Okay, and for us, we have to move beyond that. Okay, we at Waxen Microfinance currently, we are using the Google Map to locate. We just go there, take a snapshot and locate the address and everything and just upload it into our system. Okay, so I think in our advice,
you just gave your tip away.
Exactly, another institution.
I will advise other people to start practicing that, because we have to become technologically inclined and use it to solve our basic challenges instead of throwing our hands in the
Okay, so just, a free advert here. If you need cash, go to Waxen Financial Services Limited. Kosi Jokoto will be there. Thank you very much, Kosi. And then Roland Tete from Bank Watch Limited. We've been talking about microfinance. The point he made about giving, your location, giving the directions to your home. Definitely, you're going to find that plantain seller
On the
or
road
the
somewhere.
somewhere.